Hey, welcome to the final part of this What Faith Feels Like message, part four. And yesterday we were looking at the whole idea of when Jesus says it's not right to take the children's bread and feed it to their dogs, that what he's really talking about is he has a transforming work in our lives. And is his work going to change us, or is it just going to merely entertain us? And today we're going to get into some really important stuff on the plan A of your life, which is trusting Jesus. I think you're going to love this. You see, what it means to be a sheep of Israel is this. Are you transformed by what I'm giving you? That's what the Lord's asking. Are you entertained or are you transformed? And so with children, when they eat bread, it changes them. It makes them into something different than they were. They grow from adolescence to adulthood because of the nourishment of the bread. Dogs do not profit from the bread. They might be entertained, but they're not transformed. And that's the question that Jesus literally is asking. It's not right to take the children's bread and toss it to their dogs, which is quite obviously true. And it isn't actually an insult. It's a question. The question is this: are you a child or are you a dog? And she answers the question in a splendid way. She owns the fact that she might be a dog. And she says, well, I don't know whether you're insulting me now. I don't even get what's going on here. But I'll tell you what, Jesus, even the dogs get to eat the crumbs that fall from the master's table. And Jesus at that moment says, woman, you have great faith. And her daughter was healed from that very hour. Now look back at this process. Here's a woman in a terrible moment in her life. She's suffering terribly. She's suffering because her daughter's suffering. Her daughter's suffering terribly from demon possession. She comes to Jesus. Lord, help me. He doesn't answer her a word. Now, this is quite an amazing thing. But what does she do? She continues to go to Jesus. She continues to go to him. The disciples say, send her away. She keeps crying out after us. She doesn't respond to that. She turns to the Lord and says, Lord, help me. And Jesus says, it's not right. Or I came for the lost sheep of Israel. She says, Lord, help me. And then Jesus says, it's not right to take the children's bread and toss it to their dogs. She doesn't have a plan B. Can I encourage you throughout your plan B? Jesus is the one you want. He is the solution. And you continue to go to him just like she did. Now, you say, well, why does he do this? It seems so cruel. But there's something that she now knows about herself. Something she didn't know before. What if she had just gone to him and said, Lord, help me, my daughter's suffering terribly from demon possession. And Jesus goes, abracadabra, boom, your daughter is all well. You know what would have happened? She would have said, wow, that was kind of cool. But she wouldn't have learned who she was. But as she went through this event, she comes down to the end of it, and Jesus says, woman, you have great faith. And when she does that, when he says that, she gets a revelation about herself. Jesus wants to reveal to you who you are. It's not just about you understanding who he is. It's also about you understanding who you are. And in the midst of all of this process, she keeps expressing faith. Now, what did that feel like? Well, in 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 3, Paul says this, I came to you in weakness and fear and much trembling. That's what Paul says. I came to you in weakness and fear and much trembling. But here's the important point. He came. He came to those people. He was scared, he was fearful, and he was trembling. All my life, I heard this statement that fear is the opposite of faith. And I don't know that that's exactly right. Because I think fear is the emotion that most commonly accompanies faith. In fact, if you're not a little bit scared, I really wonder if you're really expressing faith, whether you're really reaching out and actually trusting. And here's this woman, she says, Lord, help me. He doesn't answer a word. Feels like rejection to me. The disciples say, send her away. She keeps crying out after us. Sounds like rejection to me. It sounds weakness, fear, and much trembling. but she came. And you know what? She proved that she wasn't a dog. She was a child. And Jesus is wanting to not just entertain us. He's wanting to transform us. He's wanting to make us into new, different, better quality people. And that happens when we're genuinely nourished by Him. We get nourished when we express faith. And let me tell you what faith feels like. Most of the time, you feel weakness, you feel fear, you feel trembling. But here's what you don't do. You don't leave. You keep coming to Jesus. You keep coming back. You know, I've met a lot of people who've gone through tremendous crises. I've met people whose loved ones were murdered. I've met a woman one time whose son was murdered in a college hazing. I met another woman whose 2 children were both kidnapped, horribly abused, and murdered. And I remember seeing these people and marveling. Where did I meet them? I met them in church when I was speaking one time. And here's the amazing thing about these people. They were standing right there in church. Why didn't they flip God off and say, I'm out of here. My kids got murdered. But they came back and they said, Jesus, you're my hope. That's real live faith. That's the kind of faith that makes the angels freak out, because you understand the angels have never had to express faith. The angels just live in the presence of God, and they look at you and they look at me and they see you in your trial and they say, I'm not worthy to stand in your presence, because you are expressing incredible faith. You know, when Jesus said to that woman, woman, you have great faith, I want to say this to you. You might be going through a hard time right now. Keep turning to Jesus. Even though it's weakness and fear and much trembling, it's great faith. And that great faith is transforming everything about who you are, and it's changing eternity. Lord bless you. It's been great to visit with you. Have a fantastic day. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in today, and I'm praying that this message is an encouragement to you. This is a 4-part message, and I broke it up into smaller segments so that it's easier for you to view, and hopefully you like that. Let me know. I'd love to get your feedback on this thing. We want to be producing something that's an encouragement and a blessing and that's useful to you. And if you happen to be liking what you're seeing, would you mind hitting that like button? And if you want to get more notifications of this stuff, hit subscribe, and then also hit the bell, and that'll send you a little notice whenever there's a new video from me. And on the other thing is, if this is touching your heart, go back to your Facebook page and share it on your Facebook page, because I believe that if it's touching you, it's probably going to touch somebody else. So hey, thanks so much for coming and visiting today, and I'm praying that this is an encouragement to you. We will see you tomorrow.